Hello and welcome back to The Artist's Way with me, Veronica, aka Vespertilio. I am an Italian comic book author, tarot and oracle deck creator, and your spooky art teacher.
It's me again, yours truly.
So welcome to episode 7. As usual, if you don't know what this is about, I highly recommend you check this video first. This is episode 0, and from there you'll be able to access the full playlist about the series The Artist's Way. Week 7, we're officially in the second half of this path. Last video I thought I had been brief with all of my reflections, and then I realized I had a lot of footage and it took me a lot to edit everything. The more I talk, the more footage I have to edit, and as much as I am the kind of viewer who likes to watch long YouTube videos, I have to admit it is pretty stressing to edit those long videos within 24 hours. So today I'm going to keep it a bit shorter, use the weekly tasks to talk about all of the things I want to talk about this week. For now, let's just go quickly through the weekly reflections, and all I have to say for this week is that it was partially a failure, but mostly a success. The week was basically over when I actually read this week's chapter. I went through the whole week with my morning pages and with the artist dates, but I didn't read the chapter until last Friday, basically. That was one thing that made me feel partially like I have failed this week. But when I got to reading about this week, I realized I actually was really successful with this week's lessons. I actually started reading this week's chapter on Thursday, but upon reading the first paragraph, I felt absolutely urged to be creative. I fully wrote and produced my first original song. I had written original songs in the past, but I never arrived to the point where I was like, okay, it's finished, it's done, I can give it to the world. The only person that listened to this song is one of my best friends, and she was incredible with her support, and she's so excited about the song. It actually was pretty moving to me, and that was me really embracing this week's lesson, which is my cat has a hiccup, which is taking action and fighting perfectionism. So I think it's worth getting right away into this week's highlights, and then I'll get to talk more about my experience with this week when we'll get to the weekly tasks. With that said, let's begin. I love that I have my little assistant today.
Let's read this week's chapter, shall we?
Okay, this week's chapter is called Recovering a Sense of Connection. We turn this week to the practice of right attitudes for creativity. The emphasis is on your receptive as well as active skills. The essays, exercises, and tasks aim to excavate in areas of genuine creative interest as you connect with your personal dreams. Listening. The ability to listen is a skill we are honing with both our morning pages and our artist dates. The pages train us to hear past our sensor. The artist dates help us pick up the voice of inspiration. Art is not about thinking something up, it is about the opposite, getting something down. If we are trying to think something up, we are straining to reach for something that's just beyond our grasp. When we get something down, there is no strain. We're not doing, we're getting. Instead of reaching for inventions, we are engaged in listening. When a painter is painting, they may begin with a plan, but the plan is soon surrendered to the painting's own plan. In dance, in composition, in sculpture, the experience is the same. We are more the conduit than the creator of what we express. It is as though all the stories, painting, music, performances in the world live just under the surface of our normal consciousness. Like an underground river, they flow through us as a stream of ideas that we can tap down into. These moments of clear inspiration require that we move into them on faith. We can practice these small leaps of faith daily in our pages and on our artist dates. We can learn not to only listen, but also to hear with increasing accuracy. That inspired, intuitive voice that says, do this, try this, say this. Most writers have had the experience of catching a poem or a paragraph or two of formed writing. We consider these finds to be small miracles. What we fail to realize is that they are, in fact, the norm. We are the instrument more than the author of our work. Michelangelo is said to have remarked that he released David from the marble block he found him in. I remind my students that their movie already exists in its entirety. Their job is to listen for it, watch it with their mind's eye, and write it down. The same may be said for all art. Our job is simply to get them down. Once you accept that it is natural to create, you can begin to accept a second idea, that the creator will hand you whatever you need for the project. Be alert, there is a second voice. This voice frequently shows itself in synchronicity. You will hear the dialogue you need, find the right song for the sequence, see the exact paint color you almost had in mind, and so forth. You will have the experience of finding things, books, seminars, tossed out stuff that happen to fit with what you're doing. Learn to accept the possibility that the universe is helping you with what you are doing. Try to remember that God is the great artist. Artists like other artists. Expect the universe to support your dream. It will. And right there, last Thursday, I stopped and I was like, I need to record this song. It won't stay in my notebook, it won't stay in my draft on GarageBand. I need to put that song down. And I did, and I'm so happy I did. I'm so proud of myself. The fact that my best friend loved it that much made me so happy, it was so satisfying also in a way. That made me think, okay, if she's my only fan, it's still worth writing an entire EP for her. So yeah, that was great. Moving on, perfectionism. Getting it right, you may call it, or fixing it before I go any further. You may call it having standards. What you should be calling it is perfectionism. Perfectionism has nothing to do with getting it right. It has nothing to do with fixing things. It has nothing to do with standards. Perfectionism is a refusal to let yourself move ahead. Instead of creating freely and allowing errors to reveal themselves later as insights, we often get mired in getting the details right. We correct our originality into a uniformity that lacks passion and spontaneity. Do not fear mistakes, Miles Davis told us. There are none. The perfectionist fixes one line of a poem over and over until no line is right. The perfectionist redraws the chin line on a portrait until the paper tears. The perfectionist writes so many versions of scene one that she never gets to the rest of the play. The perfectionist writes, paints, creates with one eye on her audience. Instead of enjoying the process, the perfectionist is constantly grading their results. The critic reigns supreme in the perfectionist's creative household. For the perfectionist, there are no first drafts, rough sketches, warm-up exercises. Every draft is meant to be final, perfect, set in stone. Midway through a project, the perfectionist decides to read it all over, outline it, see where it's going. And where is it going? Nowhere, very fast. The perfectionist is never satisfied. The perfectionist never says, this is pretty good, I think I'll just keep going. To the perfectionist, there is always room for improvement. The perfectionists call this humility. In reality, it is egoism. It is pride. Perfectionism is not a quest for the best. It is a pursuit of the worst in ourselves. The part that tells us that nothing we do will ever be good enough. That we should try again. No, we should not. A painting is never finished. What's wrong? A painting is never finished. It simply stops in interesting places, said Paul Gardner. A book is never finished, but at a certain point, you stop writing it and go on to the next thing. A film is never cut perfectly, but at a certain point, you let go and call it done. That is a normal part of creativity. Letting go. We always do the best that we can by the light we have to see by. Risk. What would I do if I didn't have to do it perfectly? A great deal more than I am. We've all heard that the unexamined life is not worth living, but consider too that the unlived life is not worth examining. The success of a creative recovery hinges on our ability to move out of the head and into action. This brings us squarely to risk. I look like an idiot, we say. Part of the game here is lining up the masters and measuring our baby steps against their perfect craft. We do not compare our student films to George Lucas's student films. Instead, we compare them to Star Wars. We deny that in order to do something well, we must first be willing to do it badly. Safety is a very expensive illusion. Usually, when we say we can't do something, what we mean is that we won't do something unless we can guarantee that we'll do it perfectly. As blocked artists, we unrealistically expect and demand success from ourselves and recognition of that success from others. Unable to take the risk of moving into new and more satisfying artistic territory. Once we are willing to accept that anything worth doing might even be worth doing badly, our options widen. If I didn't have to do it perfectly, I would try stand-up comedy, modern dancing, whitewater rafting, archery, learning German, figure drawing, figure skating. If you win, you win. And if you lose, you win. It is always that way with taking risks. To put it differently, very often a risk is worth taking simply for the sake of taking it. There is something enlivening about expanding our self-definition. And a risk does exactly that. Selecting a challenge and meeting it creates a sense of self-empowerment that becomes the ground for further successful challenges. Jealousy. My jealousy roars in the head, tightens the chest, massages my stomach lining with a cold fist, and it searches out the best grip. Only recently have I seen it for the tough love friend that it is. Jealousy is a map. Each of our jealousy maps differs. Each of us will probably be surprised by some of the things we discover on our own. I, for example, have never been eaten alive with resentment over the success of women novelists. But I took an unhealthy interest in the fortunes and misfortunes of women playwrights. I was their harshest critic until I wrote my first play. My jealousy had actually been a mask for my fear of doing something I really wanted to do, but was not yet brave enough to take action toward. Jealousy is always a mask for fear. Fear that we aren't able to get what we want. Frustration that somebody else seems to be getting what is rightfully ours, even if we are too frightened to reach for it. At its root, jealousy is a stingy emotion. It doesn't allow for the abundance and multiplicity of the universe. Jealousy tells us there is room only for one poet, one painter, one whatever you dream of being. The truth, revealed by action in the direction of our dreams, is that there is room for all of us. The biggest lie that jealousy tells us is that we have no choice but to be jealous. Perversely, jealousy strips us of our will to act when action holds the key to our freedom. And there we are getting to this week's exercises, and then we'll get to the weekly tasks. The jealousy map, an exercise. Your jealousy map will have 3 columns. In the first column, name those whom you are jealous of. Next to each name, write why. Be as specific and accurate as you can. In the third column, list 1 action you can take to move toward creative risk and out of jealousy. When jealousy bites like a snake bite, it requires an immediate antidote. On paper, make your jealousy map. Who, why, action, antidote. Green is the color of jealousy, but it is also the color of hope. When you learn to harness its fierce energy on your own behalf, jealousy is part of the fuel towards a greener and more verdant future. Archaeology and exercise. Very often, we have buried parts of ourselves that can be uncovered by some digging. Not only will your answers tell you what you missed in the past, but they will tell you what you can be doing now to comfort and encourage your artist child. It is not too late, no matter what your ego tells you. They are 10 prompts, so feel free as usual to pause the video and to complete the following phrases, and then, oh, I'm sorry,
I'm so sorry.
So complete the following phrases and then reflect on your results. Let's begin. 1. As a kid, I missed the chance to. 2. As a kid, I lacked. 3. As a kid, I could have used. 4. As a kid, I dreamed of being. 5. As a kid, I wanted a. This is funny because every time I write cat.
And now I have two.
6. In my house, we never had enough. 7. As a kid. 7. As a kid, I needed more. Wanna read it? 8. I am sorry that I will never again see. 9. For years, I have missed and wondered about. 10. I beat myself up about the loss of. It is important to acknowledge our positive inventory as well as our shortfalls. Take positive stock of what good you have to build on in the present. And here we have 10 more prompts. 1. I have a loyal friend in. 2. One thing I like about my town is. 3. I think I have nice. 4. Writing my morning pages has shown me I can. 5. I am taking a greater interest in. 6. I believe I'm getting better at. 7. My artist has started to pay more attention. My artist has started to pay more attention to. 8. My self-care is. 9. I feel more. 10. Possibly my creativity is. And now we're getting to the weekly tasks. Now I'll take advantage of this part of the video to also tell you more about my experience with this week. So, 1. Make this phrase a mantra. Treating myself like a precious object will make me strong. Watercolor or crayon or calligraph this phrase. Post it where you will see it daily. We tend to think being hard on ourselves will make us strong, but it is cherishing ourselves that gives us strength.
And here it is, my result. Let me show it to you.
Until a couple of weeks ago, I still had the old one right here next to my desk, but this girl right here ripped it to pieces while trying to climb the bookshelves. So I actually did another one.
And this is the one I created.
Test number 2. Give yourself time out to listen to 20 minutes of music, just for joy. You may want to doodle as you listen, allowing yourself to draw the shapes, emotions, thoughts you hear in the music. Notice how just 20 minutes can refresh you. Learn to take these mini artist dates to break stress and allow insights. So I did this yesterday, and the fun thing about that is that I actually listened to Enya. I hope it is how you pronounce it, but yeah, I listened to this album that is an album that I used to listen to a lot when basically I was a child. And I listened to the album and I danced to it yesterday, and the way I danced to it was not really fitting to the music because I basically danced like in some kind of hip-hop club, but at the same time I was weeping. It was kind of a grotesque picture because you see me that I don't look like someone who would go clubbing in a hip-hop club. Picture me trying to dance like that to Enya while sobbing. So moving on. Number 3, take yourself into a sacred space. It doesn't have to be a religious space. Here it also says library, grove of trees, etc. And allow yourself to savor the silence and healing solitude. Each of us has a personal idea of what sacred space is. For me, a large clock store or a great antiquarium store can engender a sense of timeless wonder. Experiment. So I still haven't done this, and my plan is to finish this video within the next 30 minutes and then go into the nearby park where I basically just noticed there is a whole other part where it's just benches and trees, basically. Task number 4, create one wonderful smell. in your house with soup, incense, fir branches, candles, whatever. I constantly light incense, so it was pretty easy. 5. Wear your favorite item of clothing for no special occasion. I actually do this. I actually do this pretty frequently. Number 6. Buy yourself one wonderful pair of socks, one wonderful pair of gloves, one wonderfully comforting, self-loving something. So I'm actually on a shopping ban. As much as I basically thrift 95% of everything I own, I'm kind of starting to feel a bit cluttered in my spaces, and oh my god, look at this baby, you're just a baby. And so I'm trying to be a bit more responsible with that, and I just gave away a skirt to my sister, a skirt that I wasn't wearing, and I'm trying to sell few things. But still, something really fun happened. I never mentioned this on this channel, but this series has become kind of my safe space on this channel, because since you can't like binge watch this series of videos, people are watching it week by week by week by week, and so they don't get a lot of views altogether. Some of my followers do not like this series, so they don't watch it, and so I feel like I can be more open with you all, like we're our own thing right now. And one thing I basically never mentioned is that I live with my partner. And the other day he came here and he was like, I want to gift you something. Every once in a while he does that. It would be like, you know what I was thinking? That it's been a while since the last time I gifted you something. So he did the other day, and he was like, I want to gift you something. Is there something you want? And in that moment, I stumbled upon one thing that for many years now, every once in a while, my thought would go to that particular object, and I would be like, oh, I want this so much. And I actually have never found it anywhere. And this time, not only I found it, but I found it at first on Vinted, so secondhand, but it wasn't the right one, and it wasn't on the right color. But on other websites, I could never manage to find the exact one I wanted. So what happened is that I found that on Vinted, and I read the brand of this object, and instead of looking for that object, I just looked for the brand, and I found the exact same thing. And what I'm talking about is this crescent moon shaped tambourine. Stevie Nicks has the exact same one, and she was actually the one that really got me into desiring this object. But pretty recently I got into Mazistar, and I watched a couple of live shows and noticed that Hope Sandoval used to use the exact same crescent moon shaped tambourine. And so I showed it to my partner, and he tried to be very nonchalant about that, but he eventually told me right away, yeah, I got it for you. Oh, sorry. I'm obsessed. So if you follow me also on my second channel, which is my singing channel, Vespertilio Sings, yesterday night, basically it was 1 a.m. here, I uploaded my cover of Witchy Woman by the Eagles, and also inspired by the cover of Lord and Lady. And I used this tambourine in the video. What can I say? I'm obsessed. So this is most certainly a very self-loving something that I really wanted, and I'm so happy it got it for me. Like, I keep it right here in my art altar. It is almost a religious ceremonial object now for me. I love it so much. Test number 7, collage. Collect a stack of at least 10 magazines, which you will allow yourself to freely dismember. Setting a 20-minute time limit for yourself, tear, literally, through the magazines, collecting any images that reflects your life or interests. Think of this collage as a form of pictorial autobiography. Include your past, present, future, and your dreams. It is okay to include images you simply like. Keep pulling until you have a good stack of images, at least 20. Now take a sheet of newspaper, a staple, or some tape or glue and arrange your images in a way that pleases you. This is one of my students' favorite exercises. Now, I kind of cheated. I never did this exercise before simply because I always thought, okay, this is basically a vision board. I already do those things, so I never gave myself permission to do this. Also because this book was written quite a few years ago, and right now, if I had to collect 10 magazines, that would cost me at least 30 euros or maybe more. I'm not really the kind of person that reads magazines, and the ones I have, I really don't want to tear them apart. But I still felt really inspired by this prompt, and in the past days, I really felt inspired to do something like that, but about I call them my goddesses, basically. The women you'll see in this collage are my goddesses, basically. And what I mean by that is that this might sound so silly, but you know that in Christianity, they say that Jesus is God in form of man by being the Son of God. Okay? That my goddesses to me are my goddess every single time she had made herself a woman on earth. So they're all the goddess and they're all her daughters, basically. And these are my goddesses. So I want to show this to you because oopsie. I believe many of them might also inspire you. So this is a collection, let's say, of really almost all of the women that have inspired me or that have a big impact on my life and on my art and also on my spirituality. The only one that's missing, I have to say, is Artemisia Gentilis. That might change in the future. So right here in the center, I have to start with her, my love, Leonora Carrington. Then there's the other Leonor of my life, which is Leonor Fini. Right here, I almost didn't include her, but this is Margaret Brundage. Margaret Brundage was one of my biggest inspirations ever, especially for my very first comic book, and she's the artist behind the cover of The Vampire Master on Weird Tales. She's basically the queen of pulp cover art, so she's amazing. Right here, Eartha Kitt. I love Eartha Kitt, and this is this song by her, which is I Wanna Be Evil, that I absolutely adore. We have Pamela Coleman-Smith, Pixie, which is the artist who created the art for the very famous Rider tarot deck. As a tarot artist, I had to include her. Also, a lot of them worked on their own versions of the tarot cards. So all of these women were artists and or witches. For example, Rosalind Norton was known as, if I'm not mistaken, the Witch of King's Cross, and she was a devotee of the god Pan. She was kind of scandalous in her time, and she was an incredible artist. Then, of course, we have Nikki. Mary's pretty jealous to death. I hope to pronounce her name correctly, but Nikki de Sanfai created the Garden of Tarot, which is this incredible place right here in Italy, and she basically built a whole park with her rendition of the major arcana. It is an incredible place. If you come to Italy, please go visit the Garden of Tarot. Leonora Carrington also worked on her rendition of the major arcana, and she, as well as Remedios Varo and Leonor Fini, were known as witches in the art scene of their time. Remedios Varo in particular is said to be casting spells through her art. If you look at her paintings, they are absolutely incredible. They are insane, like nothing you've ever seen before. Then right here we have Vali Myers, which was an artist and a muse, and she was also known as the Witch of Positano. She was super connected to nature. She had a pet fox, so she was another incredible woman. And then we have our social and political witches, which were, of course, Frida Kahlo. I have two pictures of her and one of her paintings. And I picked this picture because I love that she's winking. And every time I look at this picture, I have to wink to her back. Also, Margaret Brundage, who was a pioneer in her field, basically the mother of her field. And she also had to fight against prejudice by men and misogyny. Especially, she was the most requested cover artist in her field of her time, and still H.P. Lovecraft had something to say about her. Clown. And then, of course, Eartha Kitt. Do I need to say more? She was like a queen, an absolute queen. This is from her iconic interview where they ask her, would you compromise if a man came in your life? And she bursts into laughter and she says, love does not require compromises. Oh, I love her, and I kept a quote from that interview that says, I fall in love with myself and I want someone to share it with me. And last but not least, and it's a picture of Marilyn Monroe, but I think I included her in this collage because I thought she needed to be among those women, of remembering her by placing her amongst all of these very incredible women. So yeah, these are my goddesses, and I think they pretty much, she doesn't want me to show this to you, but I think they pretty much sum up my interests and all the inspiration that influenced me throughout the entirety of my life. Task number 8. Quickly list 5 favorite films. Do you see any common denominators among them? Are there romances, adventures, period pieces, political dramas, family epics, thrillers? Do you see traces of your cinematic themes in your collage? This is so embarrassing. The key of this task was to do it quickly, and I kind of panicked, but there is one movie in particular that it's not even a movie, it's a documentary that I'm kind of ashamed to have included, and I'll explain to you why in a second. So the movies I wrote are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie of 1990, The Road to El Dorado, The Mystery of Sleepy Hollow, which I believe it is just called Sleepy Hollow in English. Then I wrote The Nightmare Before Christmas, and then, like before Nightmare Before Christmas, I wrote Dead Hot Season of the Witch. I was about to write The Craft. Why didn't I write The Craft? It's a great movie, but it's a movie that I watch if I want to feel something, if I want to get into the whimsy goth witchy vibe, but it is not one of those comfort movies I would watch over and over and over again like the other ones. And so I wrote That Hot. Now, That Hot Season of the Witch, I think at this point you notice that, yeah, I'm basically a witch. And in the witchcraft community, it is not very well seen because it is this documentary that follows Vanessa Hudgens and Gigi McGree in their pilgrimage to Salem to uncover their witchiness, to discover their witchiness, and it is partially that, and partially it's also basically a ghost hunting show. And as much as the show tries to be very open towards the witchcraft community and wants to raise awareness towards all of the misconceptions around this practice, this craft, and it wants to debunk all sorts of misconceptions about it. It has kind of a frivolous aspect. At some points, it kind of looks like they are playing with it. In my defense, for most of it, I think they are genuinely trying to connect with that side of themselves, both Vanessa and Gigi. But yeah, in the witchcraft community, I discovered that they actually don't like that show, and I can totally see why. But on the other hand, it's basically a comfort thing for me to watch. Yeah, but by the way, do I see traces of my cinematic themes in my collage? And I do. For instance, in my list, I have 2 Tim Burton movies and one characteristic thing, visually characteristic thing of the Tim Burton movies are the stripes. Look at those queens, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all wearing stripes. Also, her outfit in this picture, insane. Also, this mask by Remedios Varo looks like a character by Tim Burton. It looks half like Vincent and half like Victor. So the road to El Dorado makes me think about Mexico. And here I have a bunch of Mexican artists because Frida and Remedios and Leonardo Carrington were all artists, Mexican artists or artists active in Mexico. Leonardo Carrington became insanely well known in Mexico and she lived most of her life there. She died in Mexico, so that hot season of The Witch and also The Mystery of Sleepy Hollow is about witches, and this is filled with witches. And the only thing I was struggling to see in this is the Ninja Turtles, but this morning I was thinking about it and I went like, the Ninja Turtles are basically about brotherhood and this is sisterhood at its peak. So yeah, I can see that. Next, number 9, name your favorite topics to read about. Are these topics in your collage? I actually also like other genres, but I wrote witchcraft, gothic novels, romance, adventure, and fantasy. And I think I can find everything here. Number 10, give your collage a place of honor. Even a secret place of honor is all right. In your closet, in a drawer, anywhere that is yours. You may want to do a new one every few months or collage one thoroughly, a dream you are trying to accomplish. And I've put it right here on the center of the desk with the candelabra, basically, which, by the way, the candles are fake. Those are LED candles. Nothing is going to catch on fire. I'm very careful with those things. And lastly, let's quickly go through the weekly check-in. How many days this week did you do your morning pages? Have you allowed yourself to daydream a few creative risks? Are you cuddling your artist child with childhood loves? So, yeah, I did my morning pages. And as I told you last week, I've gotten into the habit of writing poetry on my last page. This week, I wrote songs. So not every single day, of course, but I started writing 2 more songs, and I have actually, in the span of a few days, that was the time I wrote the song that I then recorded and had my best friend listen to. So yeah, I'm taking creative risks. I'm definitely taking creative risks. Also, the way I shoot this video, everything is reminiscent of how I used to do my YouTube videos when I was a teenager. Yeah, I used to do YouTube. My very first YouTube video and channel was created when I was 14. I think it was 2007. I basically channeled my younger self, so that was fun. Number 2, did you do your artist date this week? Did you use it to take any risks? What did you do? How did it feel? So yeah, I recorded my song on one of those days and then I did 4 hours. I did this collage. It felt great. Honestly, it felt amazing. 3, did you experience any synchronicity this week? What was it? The only thing that comes to mind right now is that I found out that Hope Sandoval used to play the same crescent moon-shaped tambourine as Stevie Nicks. And actually, I think it was the other way around. I had forgotten I had seen this. And then my partner came and told me that he wanted to gift me something. And in that moment, I couldn't think of anything. And then I was like, wait, that is perfect because I really want this. And I am on a shopping ban. That doesn't mean I'm on a gifting ban. So that could be considered synchronicity. The fact that I once again desired this, and this time I found this, and my partner was like, oh, let me give you something. Number 4, were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them. Guess what? This time, I won't talk about my phone addiction. It's getting better. The one thing I noticed this week is that the more I got into music, the more I was creative. The way I spent 4 hours on this and never reached for social media. But one thing I noticed once again is that as much as I am taking up courage and embarking my musical journey once again, I am once again stepping back from my comic book project. It is okay to take a few steps back. I just need to get back on track. On one hand, I keep telling myself, oh, it's just because you lost interest, so you have to push you through this. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, who are you kidding? You didn't lose interest on your comic book. You actually now have almost a clear idea of where you want this story to go. You just have to keep going. Why don't you want to keep going? Because once again, there is this underlying fear of failure, fear of not meeting people's expectation with my comic book. Since I am a comic artist and I'm an author, a published author, and this has been my career since 2018, I feel it like it's more risky. I feel it like if I fail with this, I'd have a stain on my career. So I think that is the main reason why I still struggle with that, because the fear towards this quest is stronger. So yeah, I need to work on that. With that said, if you stayed till this point, thank you very much. I will see you very soon with more art videos. In the meantime, let's make art. Bye.